Elliot's heart pounded as the office door clicked shut, the sound echoing like a gavel in the silent room. He was trapped, locked in the sleek, glass-walled headquarters of Horizon Media, a Manhattan ad agency where dreams were pitched and egos clashed. By 9 p.m., the building was a ghost town. But Elliot, 28, a junior copywriter with a knack for words and a habit of overworking, hadn't noticed the time slip away until it was too late. He tugged at the door again, his palms sweaty against the cold metal handle. No luck. His phone, maddeningly, was dead, and the security desk downstairs was unmanned until morning. "Great," he muttered, running a hand through his dark, tousled hair. The city skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows, mocking his predicament. He was alone, or so he thought. Then, a soft clink of glass came from the corner office. Elliot froze. Nathan Caldwell, 42, his enigmatic boss and the creative director known for his sharp wit and guarded demeanor, emerged from the shadows, holding a whiskey tumbler. "Elliot, what the hell are you still doing here?" Nathan's voice was low, tinged with surprise, but his piercing hazel eyes softened as they met Elliot's. "I got carried away with the campaign draft," Elliot stammered, feeling the weight of Nathan's gaze. "Didn't realize the doors lock automatically." Nathan chuckled, a sound that felt warmer than the sterile office air. "You're dedicated. I'll give you that." He gestured toward his office. "Come on. I've got a charger and some coffee. We'll figure this out." Elliot hesitated. Nathan was a legend in the industry, brilliant, intimidating, and fiercely private. Rumors swirled about his past. A failed marriage, a life kept tightly under wraps. Yet, there was something disarming about him tonight, a crack in his polished exterior. Elliot followed, his sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Inside Nathan's office, the air smelled of leather and cedar. A laptop glowed on the desk, casting light on scattered sketches and a half-empty bottle of bourbon. Nathan plugged in Elliot's phone and poured him a coffee from a thermos. "You're not the first to get locked in," Nathan said, leaning against the desk. "Happened to me my first year here. Spent the night rewriting a pitch on Post-it notes." Elliot laughed, easing into a chair. "Sounds like a story." "It is." Nathan's smile was fleeting, but it lit up his face, revealing lines that spoke of late nights and hard-won victories. "You've got stories too, I bet. You don't strike me as the type to just churn out ad copy." Elliot shrugged, sipping the coffee. It was strong, like Nathan's presence. "I wanted to be a novelist once, but rent in Brooklyn doesn't pay itself." Nathan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Dreams don't always fit the 9 to 5, do they?" They talked for hours, the conversation flowing effortlessly. About books, music, the city's pulse. Elliot found himself opening up about his small-town Ohio roots, his struggle to fit in as a gay man in a world that often felt too narrow. Nathan listened, really listened, his usual guardedness slipping away. He shared glimpses of his own life. A childhood in Seattle, a love for jazz, and a divorce that left him questioning everything. As midnight approached, the office felt less like a cage and more like a confessional. Elliot noticed Nathan's hand resting close to his on the desk, the space between them electric. "You're not what I expected," Elliot said softly, his heart racing. Nathan's eyes met his, steady and searching. "Neither are you." The moment hung there, fragile and charged, until a sharp beep from Elliot's phone broke the spell. It was charged, but the security system was still down. They were stuck for the night. Nathan stood, stretching. "There's a couch in the break room. Not exactly the Ritz, but it'll do." Unless you'd rather stay up and keep talking. Elliot grinned, his nerves tingling. I'm not tired yet. They moved to the break room, where a worn leather couch sat under a window overlooking the Hudson River. The city lights painted Nathan's face in soft hues, and Elliot felt a pull he couldn't ignore. They sat close, shoulders brushing, as Nathan opened up about his ex-wife, Clara, and the years he spent hiding his bisexuality to fit the mold of a perfect husband. It wasn't fair to her, Nathan said, his voice raw, or to me, but I didn't know how to be honest back then. Elliot swallowed, his own fears bubbling up. I get it. Coming out in Ohio wasn't exactly a party. My dad still thinks it's a phase. Nathan's hand grazed Elliot's, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through him. It's not a phase. It's who you are. And it's beautiful. The words hit Elliot like a wave, stirring something deep inside. He wanted to lean in, to close the gap, but fear held him back. Nathan was his boss, older, experienced, a world apart. Yet, in the quiet of the locked office, those barriers felt thinner. As dawn crept closer, they lay on the couch, sharing stories and silences, their hands finally entwining. The world outside could wait. For now, it was just them, two souls finding each other in the dark. The first rays of dawn slipped through the blinds, casting golden streaks across the break room. Elliot and Nathan hadn't slept, their voices hoarse from hours of talking, their hands still loosely clasped. The office, once a cold corporate maze, now felt like a sanctuary where truths could breathe. Elliot shifted, his shoulders stiff from the couch. You think security's awake yet? He asked, half hoping the answer was no. Nathan checked his watch, a vintage piece that looked out of place with his tailored suit. Probably, but I'm not in a rush. His smile was soft, unguarded, and it made Elliot's chest ache. They stood, stretching, and wandered back to Nathan's office. The city was waking up, horns blaring faintly below. Elliot's phone buzzed with a text from his roommate. Jamie, where the hell are you? He ignored it, too caught up in the moment. Nathan poured fresh coffee, his movements deliberate. Last night was unexpected, he said, handing Elliot a mug. I don't open up like that, ever. Elliot's fingers brushed Nathan's as he took the cup, the touch sparking warmth. Me neither. I mean, I'm usually the guy who overthinks everything and says nothing. Nathan laughed, but his eyes held a flicker of something deeper. Regret, maybe, or longing. You're good at this, Elliot. Not just the copywriting. You see people. The compliment landed heavily, stirring Elliot's insecurities. He was just a junior employee scraping by, while Nathan was a creative titan. Why would someone like him care? But the way Nathan looked at him, steady and sincere, chipped away at his doubts. Their conversation was interrupted by a loud click, the office door unlocking. A security guard's voice echoed down the hall. Anyone in here? Nathan called out, Yeah, we're here. He glanced at Elliot, a playful glint in his eye. Saved at last. The guard, a gruff man named Tony, apologized profusely. System glitch. Won't happen again. He eyed them curiously but said nothing more. As they gathered their things, Elliot felt a pang of loss. The night had been a bubble, fragile and perfect. Now reality was creeping back. Nathan seemed to sense it too. Want to grab breakfast? He asked, his tone casual but his eyes searching. Elliot nodded, heart racing. Yeah, I'd like that. They ended up at a diner on 7th Avenue, a cozy spot with cracked vinyl booths and the smell of bacon grease. Over pancakes and 2 strong coffee, Nathan shared more about his life, his love for hiking, his dog, Miles, and the jazz clubs he used to haunt in his 20s. Elliot talked about his dream of writing a novel, one that captured the messy beauty of human connection. "You should write it," Nathan said, leaning forward. "You've got a voice. I see it in your work every day." Elliot blushed and used to praise. "Maybe, if I ever get the guts." Nathan's hand rested on the table, inches from Elliot's. "You've got more guts than you think." The moment was interrupted by a call on Nathan's phone. His face tightened as he glanced at the screen. "It's Clara," he said, excusing himself. Elliot watched him step outside, his silhouette sharp against the morning light. He couldn't hear the conversation, but Nathan's tense shoulders told a story of their own. When Nathan returned, his mood had shifted, a shadow crossing his face. "Everything okay?" Elliot asked. Nathan sighed, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "She's moving to Chicago. Wants to talk about things. Old promises, maybe." Elliot's stomach twisted. He didn't know what things meant, but the weight in Nathan's voice hinted at unresolved pain. "You don't have to tell me," Elliot said, though he wanted to know everything. Nathan shook his head. "It's not that. It's just complicated. I thought I'd closed that chapter, but some things don't stay buried." They finished breakfast in a quieter mood, the magic of the night tempered by reality. As they walked back to the office, Nathan stopped outside the building. "Elliot, last night meant something. I don't know what yet, but I'm glad it happened." Elliot's throat tightened. "Me too." Back at work, the office buzzed with its usual chaos. Phones ringing, deadlines looming. But something had shifted. Elliot caught Nathan's eye across the open-plan floor, a silent understanding passing between them. They were colleagues, yes, but now they were something more. Something undefined, fragile and thrilling. By noon, Elliot was buried in a new campaign, but his mind kept drifting to Nathan. When a meeting was called, Nathan's demeanor was professional, but his glances lingered on Elliot, sparking heat under his skin. The day ended with an email from Nathan. "Dinner tomorrow? Just us." Elliot's fingers hovered over the keyboard, his heart pounding. He typed a simple yes and hit send, feeling like he'd just stepped off a cliff. The next evening, Elliot stood outside a small Italian restaurant in the West Village, nerves jangling like loose change. He'd spent an hour picking out a shirt. Navy, fitted, nothing too try-hard. Nathan was already there, leaning against a brick wall, his casual blazer and easy smile making him look younger, almost boyish. "You clean up nice," Nathan said, his voice warm. Elliot grinned, shoving his hands in his pockets. "You're not so bad yourself." Inside, the restaurant was a cocoon of candlelight and soft music. They shared a bottle of red wine, the conversation picking up where it left off. Effortless, intimate. Nathan talked about his early days in advertising, the hustle, the late nights. Elliot shared stories of his college years, coming out to his best friend, Mia, and the freedom he felt moving to New York. But the air grew heavier when Nathan mentioned Clara again. "She called today," he said, swirling his wine. "She's selling the house we bought together. Wants me to sign some papers." Elliot nodded, unsure what to say. "That sounds final." "It is." Nathan's voice was quiet. "I loved her, but I wasn't honest with myself. I thought I could be someone I wasn't." Elliot reached across the table, his hand brushing Nathan's. "You don't have to be that person anymore." Nathan's eyes locked on his, a storm of emotions swirling within. "I'm trying not to be." The night deepened, and they walked through the village, the streets alive with laughter and neon. At a quiet corner, Nathan stopped, his breath visible in the cool air. "Elliot, I don't know what this is," he said, gesturing between them. "But I haven't felt this alive in years." Elliot's heart leapt. He stepped closer, their faces inches apart. "Me neither." The kiss was tentative at first, then urgent, a release of everything they'd held back. The world faded, the honking cabs, the chilly breeze, until it was just them, tethered by heat and hope. Back at work, the dynamic shifted. They stole glances, shared private smiles, but kept their distance, aware of the office's prying eyes. Elliot noticed whispers among colleagues, a few raised eyebrows. He didn't care, but Nathan seemed more cautious, his professional mask slipping back into place. One afternoon, Elliot overheard a conversation in the break room. "Nathan's been off his game," a senior designer, Rachel said. "Ever since that night he got stuck here with the new guy." Elliot's stomach dropped. He hadn't realized their night had sparked gossip. When he mentioned it to Nathan later, his boss's face darkened. "People talk," Nathan said. "Let them. But we need to be careful. This place, it's not kind to complications." Elliot nodded, but the warning stung. Was he a complication? The doubt gnawed at him, even as Nathan invited him to his apartment that weekend. The invitation felt like a promise, but also a risk. Nathan's place in Brooklyn was a loft with exposed brick and jazz records lining the walls. Miles, a scruffy terrier, greeted Elliot with a wagging tail. They cooked dinner together, pasta with homemade sauce, laughing as flour dusted their clothes. Felt domestic, easy, like they'd done it 100 times. But as they sat on the couch, Miles curled up between them, Nathan's mood shifted. "I got an email from HR today," he said. "Someone filed a complaint, anonymous, about inappropriate conduct in the office." Elliot's heart sank. "Because of us? Maybe." Nathan rubbed his temples. "I don't know, but it's a warning shot. If this gets out, it could ruin you here. You're just starting out." Elliot bristled. "I can handle it. I'm not ashamed of this. Of us." Nathan's eyes softened, but his voice was firm. "I am. Not of you, of what this could do to you. I've seen careers tank over less." The words cut deep, planting a seed of fear. Elliot wanted to fight, to say they could face it together, but Nathan's guardedness was back, a wall rising between them. As he left that night, the kiss they shared felt like both a lifeline and a goodbye. The next week was a tightrope. Elliot threw himself into work, but the office felt like a minefield. Colleagues' glances lingered too long, and Nathan's closed-door meetings with HR didn't help. Elliot wanted to confront him, to demand clarity, but Nathan's texts were brief, his demeanor distant. One evening, Elliot stayed late, tweaking a campaign. The office was quiet, the city's hum a distant lullaby. Nathan appeared at his desk, his tie loosened, eyes tired. "We need to talk," he said. They went to the rooftop terrace, a rare oasis above the concrete jungle. The air was crisp, the skyline a glittering distraction. Nathan leaned against the railing, his voice low. "I'm being investigated. The complaint, it's about us. Someone saw us that night." Elliot's chest tightened. "Who?" "Doesn't matter. They're digging. If they find proof, it's my job on the line. Maybe yours too." Elliot's anger flared. "So we hide? Pretend this never happened?" Nathan's jaw clenched. "I'm trying to protect you, Elliot. You're young, talented. You've got a future here. I won't let my mess drag you down." "Your mess?" Elliot's voice cracked. This isn't just your mess. I'm in this too. Nathan stepped closer, his hand hovering near Elliot's cheek before dropping. I know, but I've been through this before, rumors, judgment. It broke me once. I can't let it break you. Elliot wanted to argue, but the pain in Nathan's eyes stopped him. They stood in silence, the city's pulse filling the gap. Finally, Nathan spoke. I'm taking a leave of absence, just until this blows over. Elliot's world tilted. You're running. I'm surviving, Nathan said, his voice barely a whisper. And I'm giving you a chance to. The next day, Nathan was gone. His office sat empty, his nameplate removed. Elliot felt like he'd been punched, the ache spreading through his chest. Colleagues whispered, but no one mentioned the complaint. Elliot buried himself in work, but every email, every meeting, felt hollow. He started writing again. Not ad copy, but his novel, pouring his pain into the pages. It was about two men, trapped in their own fears, finding courage in each other. Late at night, he'd text Nathan, but the replies were sparse, polite, distant. Weeks passed, and the investigation closed, no evidence, no charges. But Nathan didn't return. Elliot heard he'd taken a consulting gig in Boston. The distance felt like a betrayal, but Elliot couldn't hate him. He understood fear too well. One rainy evening, Elliot found a package at his apartment. Inside was a vinyl record, Miles Davis, kind of blue, and a note in Nathan's neat handwriting. Keep writing. You're braver than you know. And Elliot played the record, the soulful notes filling his tiny apartment. He cried, not out of sadness, but for the clarity it brought. He wasn't just a copywriter, a small-town kid, or a man hiding his heart. He was enough. He texted Nathan, I'm not giving up, on writing, or us. No reply came, but Elliot didn't need one. He'd found his voice. At work, he pitched a bold campaign, one that celebrated authenticity, inspired by his own journey. It was a risk, but it landed, earning praise from the team. For the first time, Elliot felt like he belonged, not just in the office but in his own skin. Months later, Elliot stood at a bookstore in Brooklyn, his novel in his hands. The cover was simple, the title bold, In the Dark We Shine. It wasn't a bestseller, but it was his, every word a piece of his soul. The launch event was small, friends and colleagues filling the room, their applause warming him. He hadn't heard from Nathan in weeks, but he'd made peace with it. Some stories don't end neatly, they just teach you how to keep going. As he signed copies, Mia nudged him, pointing to the door. Nathan stood there, older somehow, but his eyes still held that quiet intensity. Elliot's heart skipped. He excused himself, meeting Nathan near a shelf of poetry. You came, Elliot said, voice unsteady. Nathan held up a copy of the novel. Couldn't miss it. I read it. It's you. All of you. Elliot swallowed, emotions swirling. Why didn't you call? Nathan looked down, his fingers tracing the book's spine. I was scared. Of ruining you, of facing myself. But reading this, he tapped the cover. It made me realize I can't keep running. Elliot stepped closer, the bookstore fading around them. So don't. Nathan's smile was tentative, hopeful. I'm back in New York, consulting, not at Horizon. I want to start over, not as your boss, as us. Elliot's chest tightened, but this time it was joy, not fear. Us, he repeated, testing the word. To fit. They stepped outside, the Brooklyn night alive with possibility. Nathan took Elliot's hand, and they walked, no longer hiding. The city didn't care, it never had. but they did. Eliot's novel ended with a line he'd written after that locked-in night. In the dark, we find the courage to shine. It wasn't just a story. It was their truth. Nathan had shown him that vulnerability was strength, that love, even when messy, was worth fighting for. And as they walked, hands entwined, Eliot knew they'd face whatever came next together. The office, the rumors, the fear, they'd all led to this. A night locked in had unlocked their hearts, proving that sometimes the darkest moments light the way to something beautiful.